Syracuse today. It's going to feel like 105 in Bangor.
Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Good morning to you. It is time for Coffee Ann on ON, AM, and FM. It's Wednesday morning. It is June 19th. And because it's a federal holiday, we do not have with us Melissa Smith or Tim Draper. They both get the day off.
Indeed.
But you
How
do
sweet.
have John Ward.
But John Ward is here. Good morning to you there, John.
Good morning.
Nice to have John with us.
Happy
And
June
Were you
9th,
listening
June?
yesterday when Tom was on?
Juneteenth.
Because
I did listen a little
the
bit.
streams went through the roof yesterday.
really,
Really?
with Tom here?
Oh, yeah, I'm not kidding you.
Popular
good.
fellow.
Popular dude, yes.
All right. That's Dave Richards over there. Hello
Hi.
there, Dave. And just to let you know, coming up at 8:30, we're going to be joined on the Coffee Ann panel by Jerry Barclay King. She's the owner of Jerry's Bluffing Boutique. And she's going to be bringing with her an artist by the name of Alana Parrott. And they're here to talk about Juneteenth and what it means to them. So we look forward to
Excellent.
having them on a little
is
later on
appropriate.
this morning. So in the meantime, though, Bill Belichick is still dating the ex-cheerleader. So just to keep
Is that so?
We're going on
Again?
a daily update on that.
It wasn't just like a one-off mistake?
No. So and
Bravo.
But in case you didn't know, there
The
were
Celtics won.
the Celtics won,
Since
and
I
there's,
was
and there's
last here.
3 different Rhode Island connections to the Celtics winning. One is Joe Mazzulla, the head coach of the Celtics. He's a Johnston native, and he graduated from Bishop Hendricken High School. The other was the on the broadcast on ESPN, Doris Burke. She was a basketball player and a graduate of Providence College.
Okay.
And the third one is the company Tiffany and Company in Cumberland
Does
made
the trophy?
the trophy. Good for them. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, I hope-
Tiffany and Company and
in Cumberland.
Cumberland.
Yeah.
Cumberland.
I always thought of Tiffany being a New York thing.
So the Tiffany and Company
Or
workshop
it must
in,
be an outpost? Or?
it's a workshop in
Okay.
Cumberland. So they might have different places. I hope they don't
This
dent
is,
it.
this is one of, I'm sure, just one of their manufacturing facilities.
So that's cool that they
They make many trophies of different
Oh yeah.
special events.
So that's good that they took
Yes.
care of that. Other big news yesterday in sport: Willie Mays passed away. Did you hear
I
that?
heard
John?
about that.
That's sad.
Well, he's 93.
I know, but it's still sad.
It is
because,
sad.
You know,
It is.
he was. I wouldn't even have to say that he's one of the best. He was all around like the best. He was
Yes.
just, he was just great
He
at
didn't-
everything about baseball.
He was always third on the list of Major League Baseball home run leaders. It was for years. It was always Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Willie Mays.
Willie Mays,
With 660.
right?
But Mays could play
wasn't
the
he,
outfield.
wasn't he like the only one
Better than those two guys.
Pretty much, the one in the 600s below him. It dropped into the
it drops
500s,
down to
didn't
the
it?
500, yeah.
Yeah.
He's now moved down because Mark
Right.
McGuire.
Yeah,
and
the
they-
other
the
folks.
other guy. So, but anyway, and what I mentioned this to Dave earlier. Is what I thought was cool. He retired. Willie Mays retired in 1973. So he was an ambassador for baseball for the next 50 years.
Yes,
Who's an ambassador for whatever industry for 50 years after they retire?
and he was a good one.
That's amazing.
And he was
a
just-
good one. That's
I
right.
know a
He
few
was-
that have been ambassadors before they retired. 50
he
years.
was humble. He was just a good player, a hustler, and
Do you know why he was
Just a
called,
gentleman.
Why he's called the Say Hey Kid?
I don't know. I could look it up, but
There
I'm
was
not going
there
to.
was a whole thing with a song and everything else.
Yeah.
Well,
they
that came
did.
after he got
That was
it.
all popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was always smiling. And he was always happy.
Always happy.
when he was playing. So the teammates gave it to
Yeah,
him.
gave it
the,
on.
the Say Hey Kid when he came on. All right. So yeah, and you'll hear a lot of it about in Major League Baseball. There'll be because it happened so late last night. All the observances will take place today.
I was watching one of the news programs when they announced it. It was kind of
Okay.
late.
So, John, on the Woonsocket City Council meeting that took place on Monday, in case people haven't heard, where did everything fall out with the whole with the putting forward? Let's give $5,000 to Caitlin Santana so she can go
It
to
didn't
Miss
go
USA.
anywhere. It didn't go anywhere because the way it was written as an appropriation of transfer out of contingency into another account.
Okay.
And so, because it's an appropriation by our charter, ordinances, any ordinance, must be cannot be finalized before 10 days has passed from its initial introduction into the council agenda. So, by necessity, it had to be tabled to the next meeting. So it's nowhere. It's just hanging there until July 15th, when we'll have our next regular meeting. And it was tabled rather quickly. And of course, once a tabling motion is made, those of you who know Robert's rules, when a tabling motion is made and seconded, there is no debate.
Yeah, just
There is only a vote. Everything stops.
Yeah, okay.
And the moment it was read, instantly there was a tabling motion. Instantly there was a second, and it was like, okay.
That's
nowhere to
how
go.
I missed it.
Okay.
Because
Go
Joe
quick.
asked me, and I
Yeah.
was listening in.
Nowhere
Joe
to
asked
go.
Me, I said,
Nowhere to
I
go
don't
here.
remember.
And I'm
Bang,
sitting
bang,
there.
bang.
I'm sitting there.
I
being
must have blinked.
Being the good parliamentarian, if you blinked, you missed it because it was like finished reading, motion to table, second.
Done. Move it.
Okay,
Next appropriation. Next resolution.
It took me longer to.
The next thing
it
you
took
hear
me
is
longer to think about it and say,
Right.
okay, we're doing nothing here.
The next thing you hear
Roll
is the
call.
city clerk doing roll call.
And that's when it took me like 2 or 3 seconds to gather it and say, I see what just happened. Roll call, please.
So
Right.
you said at your next meeting, which is going to be in July.
Next meeting it'll be up there.
and then
I'm already-
do you vote on it then?
It'll be voted on if necessary. I'm going to say if necessary because there's already chatter about, and I was approached last night, and I'm going to call back and talk to the person that called me. There's already chatter about organizing a fundraising event, a private fundraising
Right.
event.
Okay, fine.
To
And the
try
station
to,
will go
to
in on
try
that,
to
will
make
you?
this unnecessary
Sure.
because clearly we want to support a local girl who is part of a pageant going into a national competition and assist with expenses associated with attending. Yes, as a community, I think we want to do that. So there will probably be an effort to do some kind of fundraising activity associated with that to try to raise the funds so that this ordinance becomes unnecessary to use city taxpayer money. And yes, it's city money, and yes, it is the community supporting it. And hopefully by the time we get to July 15th, something will have happened so that, because she's not going out there until August sometime. So
Right.
this is not a high level urgency that's happening next week. It's something that is happening in the future, but usually there's enough time, as there is in this case, between the state pageant and the national pageant, where across the country, I'm sure right now, you would probably find state contestants out doing fundraising
Yeah.
to help them get to
Right.
the national competition. So there's discussions around that, and I would hope that that conversation continues and we can do something to show the community support without necessarily taking it out of the money to be used for street cleaning or something.
Yeah.
You know, but
And John, when you have those discussions, by the way, because people have already approached you, feel free to offer the radio station
We will.
services.
we will
Don't even have to check with me. This
We'll
is something we want to support.
we'll approach the parties that would I'm sure be interested in being involved and
Yeah.
take it from there.
This portion of Coffee Ann, by the way, has been sponsored by the St. Antoine Communities up there on Rhodes Avenue in North Smithfield. They have their
And
new
the continuum of care.
Continuum of care. They got their new Primrose Lane. And if you're presently at a crossroad with your loved one, trying to determine when is the right time to seek more help and support, please contact Melissa Smith at the St. Antoine Communities so you can explore a comprehensive range of health services that St. Antoine Community has to offer. And she can be reached at 767-3500. All right. Did anything else? Well, obviously, more stuff happened. Important stuff. Real important stuff.
Nah, there was nothing important.
that took place at the city
Well, I
council
think I
meeting.
discussed Monday all the charter amendments that are
Yeah.
being proposed and considered. There was not a lot of debate about it because it's got to come up for a second passage. And much of it was verbatim what the Charter Review Board Commission members had recommended to us. The two that I think they did not consider recommending to us was the one I did about the advertising, which they left aside because it was somewhat trivial to to what their mission was. And the other one had to do with the fact that there was going to be a proposal to put some kind of term limits in place for the mayor's office. There was discussion about term limits, four-year terms, a whole variety of things related to that. And there was a proposal that was about to be put forward and then got withdrawn. The Charter Review Commission member, one of them called me and was rather, let's say, felt
Slighted?
off-put, not slighted, just uncomfortable with the way it played out. The lack of discussion, the lack of debate, the lack of conversation about it. And I had to point out that a lot of it was last minute because we were up against the deadline for submission to August, and we only had one meeting in July. The other thing that did get discussed, and I did mention it at the end in my discussion, and it had to do with the ARPA funds. Because we, as many people, some people, I hope a lot of people know, we used about $1.5 or $1.6 million of ARPA funds to balance our budget for computer equipment, library equipment, election expenses, veteran support, public works stuff, snow and ice control, $150,000 for equipment in public works, police equipment for $250,000, things like that.
Okay.
Then we're proposing, that's going to be acted on in July, $5 million for a public safety complex, $1 million for road and street repairs, more of them, $700,000 additional for the animal shelter. So when I did the math on the big spreadsheet that we were provided from Mr. Luba, and I came up with the fact that after those commitments, we will have committed all but including remaining interest that we have not spent, we'll have a balance left of $3,440,000. Here's the problem with that, and it's a serious, serious problem.
It's low.
It's low,
Yeah.
and we have only $5 million committed to the Cass Park Athletic Complex and $5 million committed to the public safety complex. Now, the public safety complex, we were told by the former mayor that the state was going to grant us $5 million
All right.
and towards that complex. And because she had asked the General Assembly to set aside money in the budget to do it. And then we were told that the federal government was going to put up $10 million towards the public safety complex because there are public safety funds set aside in the federal government to do that. And we've since gained assurance, at least the mayor has said, we've gained assurance that that's going to take place. However, the $5 million never really existed.
Why not?
The former mayor was told, no, there's a lot of communities looking to do public safety complexes and buildings and rescue and fire stations, and we're going to put in a grant so that you can compete for money, but we're not giving it to you. So they put in $11 million, and you could compete in a grant process
With
to
other
apply for it
communities,
with
okay.
other communities, and a variety of communities have split up that money based on the ranking scoring that was done, and Woonsocket never applied. So that number is zero. Zero. Zero.
That would be
You see
zero.
that on the TV screen?
Yes. that would be
Zero.
zero. So you're $5 million
so we have
short.
no, it's
you
more
have
than
more
that.
than
It's
that.
worse than that. We have $10 million from the federal government. We have $5 million from ARPA funds. That's $15 million.
15, okay.
We potentially, if we used all the remaining $3.4 million, we potentially have $18.5 million
Okay.
for a building that I guarantee will cost at least $23 million if it's just a combined fire station with the dispatch moved over from the police station. But I'm suspecting because we're having a consultant give us guidance on what we need in there, it'll probably be closer to $25 million, none of which will take care of upgrading or expanding the police station, which could cost another, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 million. So we're up over $30 million worth of desire to modernize with only 18 million. So we're about
12 or 13
12,
million?
13, 14
Short.
million dollars short. Now,
Time for a bake sale?
let's go to Cass Park. Let's go to Cass Park. Cass Park, we have 5 million.
Yeah.
They used the gravel that was supposed to pay for the whole thing back in October
the
of
sale of the
2020.
gravel, right?
Before there was even ARPA came into existence, we're going to pay for it all with the gravel. Well, that quickly came to be known as the big lie. And so now that we're there and we've collected about $1.5 million of revenue off of the sale of the gravel and the loom and the other material,
All right, it's 6.5
and
now.
there's a level surface,
Yeah.
And I think they may have the water, and I don't know whether they have all the utilities and drainage already put in underground. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say we're going to come up with, probably have a net $400,000 or so to pay for other little extraneous things related to the field. Then we're going to put an athletic complex there, not counting the field house and the community center, which is going to be paid for with $5.4 million. The complex, that the cost estimate from Parr Engineering, the same engineering firm that did the Lincoln Field renovation replacement, and was ridiculed by the Public Works Director because he said we got ripped off when we paid $2.3 million for ours, estimated the cost for Woonsocket to be $8.3 million. We have $5 million set aside to do it.
Well, there's and the 1.5 from the sale of the gravel, so yeah, now it's down to 2.
No. I've already counted that as 500,000 from the gravel is net after costs.
Oh, okay.
maybe
not even a million.
maybe
Okay.
500,000. And I don't know whether that was used to cover the underground drainage under the field and bringing in utilities that may be necessary. In any case, it's $8.3 million cost. Now, that will include some things, some extra things, like they separately put in the pedestrian paths, fences, gates, and utilities. So I guess if the utilities, if the 500,000 that covers utilities and the ground infiltration system, et cetera, is covered by the gravel, let's take that out of the equation. You're still at an estimate of $6.4 million with $5 million of money to do it with. So my concern is it's the same with so many of the things that have happened in the city over the years, is everyone talks about all the things we're going to do and never actually lays out a true cost analysis, source of funding that match. It's all pie in the sky, promises, we're going to do great things, oh, I promise this is going to work. And then you get to the reality of, no, I don't think so. And of course, I could be painted as the pessimist, but the fact is, these are numbers that we have in hand right now. These are not speculative. The only thing speculative is how much it's going to cost for the public safety facility. And the reason I'm using 23 to 25 million is because I know, having looked at what it cost them to do a new fire station in Uxbridge of a reasonable size, smaller, because they're a smaller town, they paid between 17 and 18 million dollars for a smaller size building on a small footprint, and that was in 2017-18. This is now 2024. So we have size, we have site prep, no matter where we go,
Yeah,
and
inflation.
we have inflation. So I am comfortable saying 23 million. I'm uncomfortable saying firm 23 million because it's probably going to be more. And there's my diatribe. And
No, you make sense.
It's a
And-
concern I have, and it's a frustration.
Right.
I had the frustration throughout the Baldelli Hunt administration. And you watched meetings, you've heard me express it, you've heard Jim Canoyer express it, and that's the problem. Is I would keep asking for, where's your numbers? Where's your plan? Where's your, you talk about all these things and how it's going to get done, how you're going to pay for it. Show me your revenue. Show me your expense. They should be the same when it's over.
Yeah, but John, just for the purpose of conversation. Oh, you got to go to a break, huh?
After the first break.
You want to hold on to that?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't want to throw you that off.
Very
far
good.
off.
This portion of the Coffee and program has been sponsored by the St. Antoine Communities up there in North Smithfield. The mission of the St. Antoine community is to meet the physical, social, emotional, and spiritual needs of older adults and their families by providing excellent care from compassionate individuals. They're on Rhodes Avenue in the town of North Smithfield. You can reach out to Melissa Smith for a tour of the villa at St. Antoine's by giving her a call at 767-3500. You can also go on net to StAntoine.net and view everything going on at the St. Antoine Communities. More Coffee and coming up. Stay tuned.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores. And it's Coffee and on ON. Thanks for joining us at this time. Joe Callahan here, and John Ward's with us. Dave Richards is here. And Dave, you had a question for John regarding all this money that John was talking about.
Yeah, for the purposes of the conversation, John, your point of view is vital to doing the public's work. But I did want to make mention for an allowance that a different point of view is also equally required in public expenditures,
Discourse.
public projects like this.
Yeah.
There has to be the dreamer. There has to be the imagination. There has to be someone who can sell it to others, to engage their enthusiasm, to get them behind the idea, to get things moving. So what you're looking at is an imbalance between the dreamers and the practical people who make the stuff happen backstage, and both sides are vital to the project.
Okay, let me differentiate between dreamers and
You're going to go on past experience.
and
I
hucksters.
get that. That was out of balance too.
No, I just want to differentiate between the two. When we did the bond for the school renovation and addition in Lincoln for the high school, we were lucky. We ended up, because of interest rates being what they were, we ended up with a very large bond premium. And so we did the work, and there was leftover funds of several $1 million. I think it was about $5 or $6 million. And so the thought was, because at the beginning we talked about this, but it got dropped because of cost. So then we thought about doing an athletic center attached or next to the school, because the gymnasium was too small for the school population, so they wanted to add basketball courts and things like that. So the dream was, let's build it. Now let's go see how much we can do it for. Then we value engineer it down to what we can afford. Then we propose it. Because
Okay.
you first develop a plan you can pay for. So we knew what it was going to cost, how much money we had available, what the resources were, and the dreamers could work in their closed meeting to discuss how we're going to make a proposal that's going to make sense. Then you go out and you do the marketing, because you're doing marketing of something that's genuine, as opposed to press conference 2 weeks before an election with
Oh, yeah.
drawings.
Well, we
and
know what happened,
and we
John.
know what happened there. But the
But
point
I was
is,
just trying to get you to recognize the fact that you
the
still have
point
to have
is,
the dreamers.
there's nothing wrong with the dream. I had the same dream back in 2013. It was published in the newspaper. It wasn't of that design. It wasn't going to rip out soil. I get it, but you don't. What that was 100% marketing with no substance behind it, as opposed to pure substance that was then marketed because of the quality of what was being brought to the public, as opposed to a campaign gimmick, which is what was done here. And then because it was a campaign gimmick that seemed to hit traction, it was pursued further. But I mean, this was pursued when the gravel was supposed to pay for it in its entirety. And then by the time the last election came along, they were taking the council people out there after the election saying, see, and we're going to pay for this with ARPA. Well, when the press conference was done, ARPA didn't even exist.
Right.
So there was no fallback resource to do this with if there was no gravel money. I mean, I just posted, somebody made a comment about it today and reminded everyone of it, so I just made a comment that, if anything, we should call this the COVID Athletic Complex, because if it were not for the COVID pandemic, the money to pay for this would never exist, and it would never happen. They would have a hill all dug out and nowhere to go. You know what they're saying is,
I
they'd be
get
all,
it. I'm
they'd
just
be all
trying to-
dressed up and nowhere to go.
I'm just trying to
I understand your point.
take a
but-
middle ground here, and
But that's that's not middle ground. Isn't what happened. I understand
That's
the need
right.
to
It's
have
not
dreams.
what happened. I agree with all
I
of
understand you need to have dreams and ideas, and people have to be able to feel like they can come forward with concepts that are cutting edge and outside the box, and all of those things are essential to progress. Absolutely. You want that. But then you have to always balance it against the reality of your resource and your capacity. And this seems to have been the legacy of the prior administration where that never happened. It was always about the promise, never about the delivery. And you can't have one without the other.
I understand.
Sorry. I mean, it sounds harsh, and I sound like a freaking accountant, but the fact is, you can't have one without the other. It has to be
Yeah.
balanced.
You're right.
Well, maybe we can reach out to like Breeze Airways. They're making a big splash in Rhode Island, and we'll call it Breeze Airways.
But they did
Park.
it incrementally. If you remember, they just
Yeah.
started with a few
I know you did it one of
a
the
few routes
routes, and you keep building.
that were
And you
specialty
keep building.
routes.
Snowball in a business.
They
Yeah.
did and the guy that started it was the same guy that started JetBlue, who did the same thing with JetBlue when he started. He started with limited routes, second tier airports, lower cost of his terminal
Well-
fees, and then you build on it.
Well, you change it to Breeze Spirit Park, and you put up signs with their URL on there, so people go check out pricing.
Spirit Park.
Yes. Little airplanes on the billboards,
I don't know what we're going to do.
and they
I mean,
give you, they
obviously-
give you $10
obviously
million
this-
to
You
finish
could have
the park.
you could
In
have
he-
a windsock on top of the press box to show the
Perfect.
wind direction.
In
Perfect.
here, I'm sure there will be opportunities for sponsorship on a scoreboard. There'll be opportunities on a variety of things, but that ain't going to pay the freight.
But trying to get it up to that amount of money is going to be really, really
It's,
tough.
and a lot of times we'll hear talk about, well, a lot of our highway staff or our staff are going to do it, but the fact is, that doesn't mean it's free. Like right now, the highway staff is doing a lot of the work, grading and moving stuff and
Right.
cleaning up areas out in that spot, especially where the old Hokon
As well as
restaurant was.
repaving roads.
And repaving roads. But that doesn't mean it's free. It means you're just replacing a contracted cost with an internal cost, and you still have to account for that as a cost of the work. So the project price doesn't go down, you're just paying it for it. When you do it internally, you're paying for capital projects out of operating expenses. And
John, you're no fun.
It fools it fools people a lot of time, but when you hear them say, "Oh, don't worry, we're just going to do it with our own staff,"
Do it in-house, yeah.
it's a sleight of hand.
Oh, they're doing it for free?
This is like a 3-card Monte on
Yeah.
on 42nd Street in New York.
You're going to win all the time. Don't worry.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Until you put your money down. Yeah.
But you pay for it.
Yeah.
And you pay for it without them accounting for all the burdens associated with the costs that they're doing the work for. But that's technical cost accounting, and we're not even going to go anywhere near
right.
that. It's better to just do the weather and move on.
We'll get to the weather in just a minute. There was a car crash in Lincoln last night,
Really?
around 9:30, in the area of Old Lewis Quissett Pike and Breakneck Hill Road.
Old Lewis Quissett Pike.
Near CCRI.
246.
Yeah, near
Yes.
CCRI.
Yes.
And the way, if you look at it and you think about it, you go, sounds like someone ran a red light.
Has to. There's a light there. And
Yeah, I'm like,
it's-
that's what it sounds like. They haven't said that yet, but 4 people transported to the hospital. And it was a 2-vehicle crash. The 4 people are 2 adults and 2 juveniles. They went to Rhode Island Hospital as a precaution.
What time?
This is about 9:30
Oh.
p.m. Last evening. Crash is under investigation. Does say that no real bad injuries took
No.
place. They just went there to be checked out. Oh, my arm hurts and my leg hurts. Well, let's go check you out to make sure you're okay.
Unfortunately, the nature of traffic control lights is people oftentimes try to race through that yellow.
Oh, I can make it. Yeah.
And I can make it, and the people coming through the green don't see, and
All right.
oops.
So yesterday there was a bit of an issue in Massachusetts where the whole 911 system statewide went down, and
happened.
they got it back up around 4 in the afternoon because I kept getting messages on my phone not to call 911. This is what irked me. I was getting messages from my local town saying 911 doesn't work. So if you need us, if you need the police, call the local number.
What's the local
What's the
number?
local number? No one has the local numbers memorized anymore
You don't have
because
that
memorized? Everyone knows 911.
766-1212.
Well, that's
in
one socket. That's not going to help me up there in Mansfield, Massachusetts.
No.
But anyway, it came back on, and I love this in the news story that we have. The cause for the outage is not known. Yes, it is. But we don't want to tell you what it is because someone might do it again. There's just we know how this took place. We fixed it,
Yes.
and so
I'm-
that's a good conspiracy theory
Like
right there.
Mr. Spock did with the transporter, I'm sure they cross-circuited to B.
There you go. So, but it was fun getting messages on my phone all day yesterday.
Or maybe
Beep, beep. I can't shut this off.
maybe somebody said, "Just reboot the system, will you,
May-
please?"
Control Alt
Control Alt
Delete. There we go. Hold it down for about 10 seconds. We'll let it go again. All right. Well, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program, and more coming your way. It is time for the forecast. And the forecast is going to be hot. And it's brought to you by Allstate.
Mostly sunny skies today and hot with a high near 93 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, overnight low of 68. Thursday's weather, mostly sunny, 95. Heat index values go as high as 100 degrees on Thursday. Thursday night, a tiny chance of a shower, mostly cloudy, overnight low of 69. Friday, a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms starting in the late morning, and a high of 86 degrees. Then on Friday night, a 50% chance of continuing showers and thunderstorms offering some relief to the heat. Overnight low of 63. Saturday, mostly cloudy and 79. Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high of 85. And next Monday, partly sunny and 83 with a 50-50 chance of a shower. And on Tuesday, sunshine and 84.
Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. Sunny skies. It is hot. We're already at 82 degrees. Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you. With Allstate, not one based on anyone else. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today.
For an Allstate agent, providing protection options that fit your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and helping customize protection to meet them. From bundling your home and auto insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage, your Allstate agent can help build an insurance proposal that fits your life. And just as important as learning what you need is learning what you don't. Because helping you get coverage you want with savings you deserve is what Allstate is all about. It's time to get coverage that's catered to you. Are you in good hands? Call Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, two locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. One telephone number, 765-5000. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
I love our Rhode Island shoreline, but our location makes us vulnerable to hurricanes and tropical storms. It's important to be prepared as best we can before the storm hits. You can help by knowing your risks, getting flood insurance, and being familiar with your evacuation route. Let's all do our part to be hurricane strong. The steps we take today can help minimize damage tomorrow. Learn more at riema.ri.gov.
Brought to you by Governor Dan McKee and the Rhode Island Broadcasters Association.
Lou Mandeville here to tell you the only place to get your local high school and college scores, as well as the Pats, Bruins, Celtics, and Sox is on my morning sports reports. And they are right here on ON 1240, Monday through Friday on the Morning Fun Show.
All right, it's Coffee Ann here on ON Radio, and this portion of Coffee Ann is sponsored by Navigant Credit Union.
Big banks offer you everything these days. Bank from home, bank from your phone, even apply for a loan from anywhere you are. It's called Big Bank Tech, and it's pretty cool. Did you know you don't have to go to a big bank to be pretty cool? Navigant Credit Union offers their members all the big bank tech without the big bank. And if you want to come into a branch to see us, we'll make you feel like you own the place, because you do. We think that's pretty cool, too. Navigant Credit Union, member NCUA.
And good news for Navigant Credit Union, they are opening a new branch. So to all our friends in Wickford,
Oh yeah.
their newest branch is going to open at 1041 10 Rod Road, which is basically North Kingstown, which is in the Wickford section of North Kingstown. New branch for Navigant Credit Union opens on July 15th down there in South County. So good for them. All right, we're being joined at the Coffee and Table.
Oh, that's a Monday. Okay.
Yes,
Right.
that would make sense. Yes.
No, I was just making sure that Tim would be here on the
Oh,
Wednesday.
okay. The Wednesday
because,
before to tell us. All right.
Wouldn't want him to miss.
We're being joined at the coffee and table by a couple of nice ladies right here. Jerry Barclay King is with us from Jerry's Bluffing Boutique. Hi, Jerry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to have you with her. And she brought her along with her, Alana Parrott. Saying that right?
Hi, yes.
There's Alana taking a look at herself on TV, making it look she looks okay. And Alana, just briefly, you're an artist, but you work with Jerry in some capacity.
Yeah.
How'd you meet her? Let's start there.
Oh, you want to hear the story?
I want to hear a story.
Because it's a truly
Is it a good story?
it's a divinely led story. Let me tell you.
Good.
I had just moved to Woonsocket. From Massachusetts.
Okay.
I'm originally from Massachusetts. I did go to college at URI for acting and directing. But I moved to Woonsocket at like the end of July, and during the first 2 weeks, one thing that I feel like is really important is to see what resources are already within the community.
Mhm.
So I was walking around town. I had just gone into the CCA Community Care Alliance, and so in there, I was talking to a woman about like the programs that she had there, and there was this lady who was just sitting there, and she had this bright yellow top on, and she was just like listening to the conversations, and then we both left at the same time, and we ended up walking down the street. And then as we're passing by Jerry's shop, I'm like looking at it in the corner of my eye. And I had gone there like about a week before, and it was on a Tuesday when they're closed. And so, but in the back of my mind, I was just like, should I go in there? And then all of a sudden, the lady who was like walking right behind me in that yellow shirt, she was just like, oh, and Jerry's another amazing resource here in the city. She was like, go talk to Jerry. And at the time, Jerry was literally just seeing somebody out, and it was on, I believe, on a day that she wasn't open.
Okay.
So she was seeing somebody out, and it was literally just the perfect timing, because this woman was like, Jerry, she needs to talk to you. You need to talk to Jerry. And we literally, it was just like, she took me in, and like I haven't left
Wow.
since.
All true, Jerry, what she said?
If people say it's like a magnet, it's like a vault. Once you get in, you can't get out.
Now you said you went to, Alana, you went to URI for acting and directing, but you're also an
Yes.
artist. So what kind of an artist are you? What do you work in?
Yes. Okay, so I call myself a creatrix, which is a word that has not been used in a while.
Uh-huh.
When we look at the word creator, right? Creatrix can be seen as the female version of that, but it's also so much more. Creatrix, she is an artist plus,
Okay.
artist plus activist, artist plus healer,
Mhm.
artist plus storyteller. And so that's kind of how I encompass the work that I do. As I mentioned before, I have my roots in acting and directing. I also grew up a dancer. I just came out with a poetry book. I'm a poet.
Wow.
I just won Motif's 2024 Live Spoken Performance Awards for their youth. So I've recently been recognized for that as well. And really, I'm just like an artist who's rooted in doing work that promotes like authenticity in people's light. Because my whole thing is like, I'm just here to like live my most authentic self and shine
Mhm.
my light and inspire others to do the same. So the means in which I do that from is pretty flexible.
Excellent. All right, we asked Jerry and Alana to come in today because it's the holiday today. It is Juneteenth. It is the observance. This observance is the third time that millions of Americans are getting a paid day off as a nation commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. The name of the holiday is a combination of June and the 19th. Are you happy with the name, Jerry?
Juneteenth.
You like Juneteenth as
I
a
like
name of the
it.
holiday?
It's a nice ring to it, Juneteenth.
Okay.
And you smile when you say teen.
We have to. Your face doesn't let you not say when you have to say the word.
Exactly.
President Abraham Lincoln freed enslaved African Americans when he issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, and it became law later that year through the 13th Amendment. But it took, we didn't have the mass communication that we have today. We didn't have the internet. And it's a long way to travel from Washington, D.C. to Texas by horse.
Right.
To tell those folks.
To let everybody know.
And by the way, there was a war going on.
And there was a war going on as
Jeez.
well.
Yeah.
They were probably getting stopped along the way. It was the Union soldiers that were going down there. Major General Gordon Granger and his 2,000 Union troops didn't make it into Galveston Bay, Texas, until June 19th of 1865 to say, hey, the war's over, by the way. And 250,000 enslaved African Americans. Okay, you're all free.
You can go home.
Texas, they weren't happy with the president at the time. I don't think they agreed with the Emancipation Proclamation at the time. So now we have to go back and win the war, and then go down there and
well, they had
put
won the war
bring the
by
hammer
then.
down.
They had won the
By
war
then?
by then. Like so many things, and I even equate this with Independence Day, July 4th. It's not a true date because despite the
Well, that's
Emancipation
right.
Proclamation, it had no effective law, and it was only the ratification of the 13th Amendment, which actually happened 6 months after. But you know what? That doesn't matter because all of this is about tradition.
Yeah.
And so African Americans started a tradition on June 19th to be their Independence Day because of this. Go with it. July 4th is not Independence Day truly. It was July 2nd.
Yeah.
It didn't all get signed until August. Who cares?
Right,
We
right.
need the celebration.
Let's save
It's
the
more
celebra-
about the tradition and the celebration, and that's what's important here.
So Jerry and Alana, do you wish people a happy Juneteenth?
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
you can say that.
Happy
Okay,
freedom.
because it took me a long time before someone finally said, "Joe, you don't wish people a happy Memorial Day."
No.
That you don't say that. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize
Well,
that.
why not?
Well, you don't. It's a solemn day, and it's to honor people that have died. I said, oh, you just
Happy
you don't
Veterans
do
Day, yes.
that. Happy Veterans Day is
Happy
okay.
New Year's.
So saying Happy Juneteenth is an okay thing.
It's okay.
It's,
okay.
you're supposed to say that.
You're supposed to say that
Okay.
because it's the day of your freedom.
Okay.
Freedom. Freedom.
So for the one at a time, quick, just sum it up. What does the day mean to you? Who wants to go first?
I can
All right, Jerry.
speak to that.
All right.
The day Juneteenth, what does it mean to me? It means freedom, bondage, freedom from bondage. And it also just acknowledges who I am, acknowledges my ancestors, and the shoulders as we are right now that we stood on, and the road that they paved for us to be where we are. I mean, so they started the fight, and I just think it's important for us in this generation and future generations to remember that and to continue the works that was started. So it's about remembering where we came from and how far we've come and how much work we need to do to determine where we're going to go. So we just have to keep the history alive and keep remembering, talking about it, because if we don't tell our stories, who's going to?
Right. Okay. Alana, what do you think about what's the day mean to you?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I would kind of how like I internalize it versus how I express it. How I internalize it is very similar to Jerry, as far as like having it be a celebration, but also in a sense kind of like a memorial too, like holding space for the people and especially the ancestors that came before us, for sure. And I feel like, I mean, at least in my experience, and I love that you broke down the name of Juneteenth and like that it's a combination of June and on the 19th, because I feel like that's something a lot of people forget.
Right.
They'll hear Juneteenth and literally are just like, well, when is that?
Yeah.
When it's literally embedded in the name. So I feel like Juneteenth is also such a potent time to not only celebrate, but also to like be seen and like on really echoing like that celebration, like celebrating who you are, where you came from. And really, really paying homage, because actually a year ago today is when I first released my poetry book. And I wanted to do it on Juneteenth because it has to do with, it's called Growing Up Raceless in America, because I'm mixed race. And so it's a poetry book that's literally about transcending limitations through self-liberation. And I thought, what a better time to release it than on
Right.
Juneteenth, such a day that really anchors that liberation and celebration of self. So I would really say celebration of self and like honoring ancestors for sure.
Excellent. Jerry, you felt your ancestry.
Yes.
Where did your family come from?
Oh.
How far back can you go?
That is a good story. This is a good one. This is an interesting story. So my ancestors originally came from Barbados.
Okay.
When slavery was ended, the family took a boat called the Cora. About 300 or so individuals got on this boat and went to Liberia because that was the land of the free. So Liberia was acquired by the American colonization as a place where free slaves can go and start over in their homeland. So my story is one of those stories that it's a 360.
Yeah.
So leaving Anthony Barclay with Sarah Bourne, those are my great grandfathers
All right.
and great parents that migrated to Liberia with 10 kids.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a
10
long
children.
boat ride.
Plus other families. So
Yeah.
we went home, and then in the late 70s, early 80s was when the Civil War took place in Liberia. So all of those that pretty much left and had certain last names, certain class levels, certain status were being targeted.
Yeah.
So you've got Liberians now who fled, and we were considered Americo-Liberians because we're coming with
Right.
all of these American heritage and traits to Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
The features are different, the last names are different. We don't look the part that is standard for just
Like a
Africans.
pure Liberian?
Africans, yes.
Okay, Africans.
So with me coming to the United States with my parents, we basically fled the Civil War.
Wow.
And that was the spark of me living in Texas. I lived in Texas for 2 years, and then to New York, and then Rhode Island, eventually choosing Rhode Island as my home. But during that time in Liberia, our family, great-grandfather, great, passed away, but he left a legacy with his kids. Out of the kids, in that family tree, there were 2 of them that actually became presidents.
Wow.
And those 2 individuals are the names of my 2 boys. And my husband is Charles D.B. King, my son, Charles King, and my younger son, Arthur Barclay. So if you want to do the history, read up on it. Arthur Barclay, president of Liberia. Charles King, president of Liberia.
Wow.
And then there's also an Edwin Barclay as well. So for me, making sure I keep the heritage alive is important, so my boys know who they are. So we do have portraits in our house, and they are so proud to call themselves those names because those are their ancestor, and they were named after these dead presidents.
Yeah. Wow. Great story. All right, more coming up on the Coffee and program as well. Comments and questions can be called in, by the way, 766-1240. This portion of Coffee And's been sponsored by Navigant Credit Union.
What does it mean that our customers are our owners? It means that we don't have shareholders like a bank. We have owners like you. And though we don't have traditional shareholders, we do share. We share values, expectations, and yes, profits in the form of better rates, lower fees, and dividends. Our customers are our owners. Our owners are our customers. Come join us. Navigant Credit Union.
At Menard Locouture Funeral Home, we focus on partnering with you to plan a loving remembrance for those we've lost. At any venue of your choice, whether a church or our home, whatever your preference, whether for burial or cremation, planning a loving remembrance with a personal touch is our mission. Special music, a dove release, even a motorcycle escort, anything that you deem appropriate can be a part of your loving tribute. Menard Locouture Funeral Homes, Woonsocket in Manville.
You can depend on us for public service. ON Radio.
Here we are on Coffee and. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Joe Callahan here with John Ward. We're also being joined by Jerry Barclay King from Jerry's Bluffing Boutique here in the city, and with Alana Parrott, a local artist. And Alana, we heard Jerry's story of her ancestry. Do you have a good story for your? Well, a story doesn't have to be good. You don't have to top her, kind of thing. But just a story on your ancestry.
Yeah, no, I definitely have a story, and I'll allow y'all to decide the quality of the story. Yeah. So for me in particular, I mentioned before that I'm mixed race. And so my story is definitely kind of different in some regards, but also something that can totally be seen and resonated even with people within our community who I personally have met. But so I'm mixed race. My mom, she's from Massachusetts. She is mostly white, and then my baba is what I call him, which means father in Swahili. Also, fun fact: the Lion King, Hakuna Matata, that is Swahili. They actually use that over there, and it literally means no worries. So.
Okay.
Fun tidbit that you can take with you today. But so my baba, he's from Kenya, straight from Kenya. So literally, when he came over, he met my mom. My mom had me when she was young. She was 17 when she had me, and so they did not end up together. My mom ended up raising me on her own. But it wasn't until when I really reconnected with my with my baba was during my senior year at URI. I took an African diaspora class. Now, have you ever heard? Do you know what diaspora means?
No.
So diaspora means displacement of people. So the class was focused on learning about the displacement of the people from the continent of Africa. And during one of our units, we actually had, it was focused on the Mau Mau uprising, which occurred in Kenya. It was basically their uprising against the British colonial powers. And one thing that I found out is that in the Mau Mau uprising, there were specific tribes, right? And this one tribe, the Kikuyu tribe, were the ones who helped spearhead the uprising. And so literally, when you imagine it, it's literally just like Kenyans against the British colonial powers, literally them with spears against guns. Seriously. But they ended up winning. And one thing that I found out through connecting with my baba is that actually my great-great-great-grandfather was in the Mau Mau uprising.
Wow.
So I do come from warriors.
Cool.
I do come from warriors. And yeah, no, that's a bit about. Oh, and then I will say one specific memory that's very vivid to me. So growing up, I was mostly with my mom and my mom's side of the family, and her birth mother, my grandmother, I remember sitting down at the kitchen table and her telling me just everything that makes up me. And she was just like, Alana, did you know that you are French Canadian, Irish, Italian, Scottish,
You're everything.
Native American, and Kenyan?
Wow.
And so from such an early age, I just felt so praised and so honored for all of the multiple things that make up me, right?
Yeah.
And then fast forward to second grade. So this is before second grade. Fast forward to second grade. I'm in the bathroom. I'm social butterfly. I'm a Libra. Okay. I love to talk to people. And so second grade Alana's in the bathroom just washing my hands, and this one girl comes in and she's just like, I'm trying to talk to her. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? How you doing? And she stops me and she was like, are you black? And I was like, me being me, I was like, well, I'm French Canadian, Irish. I gave her the whole spiel.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, okay, because my mom said I can't talk to black people. And then so I remember second grade going back to the classroom and being completely stunned because something that was so praised and so seen and so recognized for all of the multiple things that make up me in an instant was just so minimized and so shrunken down. And a second grader having to deal with these emotions, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So that's that's a bit about my story and my heritage, and especially that conversation with my grandmother around the table is something that I always keep with me.
All right. And I was going to ask you about growing up being mixed, and was it difficult? And starting from the second grade, yes.
yeah, and I feel like
people not accepting you. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like my book really harkens to that. Even though this is this experience is from my specific lens, right, through the lens of race, it's something that can be felt with like anyone can resonate with, because a lot of the struggles and challenges that I faced was feeling either not really feeling like I had a place. I was either too white for the black people or too black for the white people, but then in reality I was always just being like, well, I'm different, I'm not either, I'm technically both, so I'm like, what do I do? So it's like what do you do when you feel like you don't fit in?
Now you can declare yourself presidential qualification.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So I don't know if Jerry or Alana...
Just tell people my background became president.
That's
so leave
right.
me alone.
Yeah, no, very true, very true. He is half Kenyan.
So funny story. I don't know if Jerry or Alana, have you been to Disney World?
Yes.
Have you been to the Animal Kingdom to see the Lion King show?
No.
You gotta go, because it's funny. And so out come four African Americans, two men and two women, and they're dressed in African outfits, and they say and they give their Swahili name. And then they tell you what it means. And the first man says, well, my name means warrior. And the two women, my name means, I think it's queen, and the other one is princess. And the fourth guy says, whatever his Swahili name is, he goes, and that means I'm good looking. Hey,
And
that's
speaking
pre-
of names,
that's pretty funny.
yeah, I actually like the Wakanda.
Mhm.
Black Panther segment at Disney. It was actually so interesting, and I
Yeah.
loved it, the energy. And speaking of name, that just reminded me when I went to go and Google and search on my name, and my name is the ruler of the spear.
Yeah, wow.
Geraldine, not just Jerry.
Yeah.
But Geraldine means the ruler of the spear. So watch out, people.
I wonder
I've
if
got my
Flip
spear.
Wilson.
So you're a I was gonna
What
say,
is that?
you're a Flip Wilson, Geraldine.
Yes,
Well,
I am a Geraldine. I'm a
the-
Geraldine,
the
and
two-
I own it.
Yeah, but the two women, they're too young. They don't know who Flip
Oh,
Wilson
yes,
is.
I do.
Do you?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm over
Alana
it.
has no idea who we're talking
Yeah,
about.
she's still.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I know.
He was one of the first. He was a comedian. He was a stand-up comedian,
Oh, no
but he
way.
dressed as a woman.
Yes.
And his female
So
character.
drag.
Yes.
Was doing drag.
Yes, he was on his own TV show,
Geraldine.
and his character's name was Geraldine, and he was hysterical.
Well, I don't know
As
if I
Geraldine.
call it drag. It was comedic.
Well, he dressed- he
but,
dressed as a
but
woman.
it wasn't with the makeup and everything else. It wasn't
No.
intending to look.
He was being a woman,
female,
though.
but all he did was put a wig on.
Well, and a dress.
That was
dress.
just, that was
And
just
that
his,
was it. There
his
was no
alter
makeup,
ego.
And,
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
and it was sort of it was a caricature.
It was
where
a,
he
it was a
would just
character.
act sort of at the extreme ends of.
But he had a
of
husband, didn't
being
he?
a black female.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was
In the 70s.
like good comedy. It's at the outside edges of what's correct, so to speak.
What
Oh,
you,
yeah,
what
no,
you see
always
is what you get.
pushing boundaries.
But he
yeah.
was hilarious.
Oh, he was so
It was a
funny.
great show.
Well, I'm happy that
All right.
Geraldine
There
And
you
it was
go.
brought the
Geraldine.
comedy,
It's,
broke the barriers, talked about both sides, and brought
Perfect.
humor into
Yes.
the worst of what could have been happening at the
So
time.
in terms
and
of
honestly, that's why I always feel badly about what has happened with Bill Cosby's life, because being old enough, I remember when they used to do comedy albums, and that used to be one of the best things you'd ever want to listen to is Bill Cosby's comedy albums, because he was such a great storyteller,
Yeah.
and they were so funny. And then to see what's happened to him with his personal problems,
Oh,
it's
there's a lot
taken
of
away
that.
from what you get from somebody who's a talent,
Right.
and truly talented, and it's unfortunate.
in terms of the holiday today in Juneteenth, is there a traditional celebration that's done? Like on the 4th of July, you set off fireworks.
Right.
What do you do? What does the African American community do on Juneteenth? Is there something?
Well,
Maybe there isn't.
There is not necessarily, but we just recognize those who are actually doing the work, and have been doing the work to express who we are, where we came from, and just making an impact in the community, and continue to make an impact in the community from the Black community. So there's music, there's dancing, there's food. Speaking of food, today is the taste of Juneteenth, and I'm going so I can taste some of that.
Where's that going to be?
That's actually in Providence at Farm Fresh, and it's hosted by another individual who's part of the Juneteenth group.
What kind of food will they have? Traditional African
Well,
food?
there's
or-
everything. You've got soul food.
Okay.
You've got Caribbean food. You've got African food. But it's just a mixture, and it just kind of like embodies how the Black is made up. For me, I have more of a Caribbean infusion, Southern infusion into my cooking style.
You like the spice?
I like the spice.
She likes
It's gotta have a little bit of flavor. We need the flavor, and it is. What's so unique about the Black culture and the African culture, how we're able to just whatever's thrown at us, we're able to just take it and make it into something that's so delicious
Okay.
and appealing. We're resilient, and we've been through a lot, and we stand tall and try to push forward. And I just think that is what it is, and that's what makes us who we are.
Okay.
Having gone through some things, you still stand up, wipe your tears, wipe yourself off, and keep moving, because in this life, it's not about us. It's about those who are coming after us. And so there's music, dancing, gospel, and then even the clothes,
Yeah.
just to express who we are and where we're from, and just being proud of your heritage. So getting everybody together in one location is a celebration.
All right. Alana, do you do anything special to celebrate Juneteenth?
You know what? I mean, besides last year with like releasing the book and like I feel like for me, like it's definitely in like a way that everyone can participate too is like supporting Black artists, Black businesses, like supporting the people in the community doing the work. And something like I feel like it's so important to highlight, like even though like yes, this is like a subculture in the greater American culture here that we have, I feel like it's also a time for like everyone to come together and to celebrate people, celebrate humanity, and specifically, yes, the Black African American culture. But I definitely think it's a time for all of us to come together and celebrate. And and that's the thing. When I was thinking about it, I was like, damn. I was like, I really don't necessarily. Besides, like, I mean, dancing. I love to dance. And like, especially when you dance, literally it allows like energetically in your body, your energy systems, when you dance, you shake it up. It allows for you to release the energy, the stagnant energy that isn't yours anymore. And I feel like especially for Juneteenth, that's so important, because I don't know if you know this, but oftentimes, so trauma is passed down through generations, and it's actually what will happen when we go through traumatic events. It can literally restructure our DNA, and so if we don't take the time to heal that, that DNA will literally continue to be passed down in our lineage. And so something that I personally love to do is dance, shake it off, and then and the healing really helps to restructure your DNA. So then further down the line, your lineage doesn't have like that's something that like they don't have to carry the weight. They can carry the love and the honor of that, but not the weight.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end of the program, so we have to wrap it up. Sorry about that. But Elena Parrott, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Jerry Barclay King from Jerry's Bluffing Boutique. Give us your hours. Give us your address. Where's the shop located?
Well, we have a retail piece where you can actually pick up products that are from authentic of Africa, all parts of Africa. But in extension to that, it's not just about the apparel and pieces in the shop. We've now expanded and have the cultural connection, is where we're celebrating our diversities. We're celebrating our heritage. We're celebrating those who actually live within the region that have been displaced through diaspora, and also displaced and living in United States and living in the northern part of the state and living in Rhode Island. Just being able to celebrate those differences, celebrating our heritage, celebrating our culture, that what makes up the GBB Cultural Connection. I'm connecting those to those resources and connecting those to their heritage through music, through art, through we did an exhibit. So right now we do have the Faces of Woonsocket up in the Cultural Connection. So come on by on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 11 to 6 at 285 Main Street in the heart of downtown Woonsocket.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Jerry.
Thank you for having us.
Geraldine. Sorry.
Yes, Geraldine.
And John, thanks for coming in as well.
Hey, happy Juneteenth.
Yes.
Despite the oppressive heat, go out and enjoy the God-given day.
Very good.
Yes.
This is Joe Callan. Have yourself a great day. Stay tuned. Gary Smith of the crew. Do remember us at 9:30 here on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
The Pawtucket Police